First there was Brendan Malone, then Darrell Walker, Butch Carter, Lenny Wilkins, Kevin O'Neill, Sam Mitchell, Jay Triano, and of course Dwayne Casey. Who will the next coach of the Toronto Raptors be? This tight coverage video is to take a look at who he or she may well be. Whoever it is will be the 9th hire in Toronto Raptor history. Lenny Wilkins, the only one of the previous 8 coaches hired that had previous head coach experience. In this video, we'll take a look at internal candidates like current assistant Nick Nurse. This man right here, Jerry Stackhouse, doing a fantastic job for the Raptors organization. We'll also visit the Greg Popovich coaching tree as Mike Budenholzer emerging as a strong candidate, and I certainly hope that Becky Hammon is also going to emerge as a strong candidate. These two in Detroit are going to be very enticing for an available head coach to want to be a part of what's going on there. Who wouldn't want to coach the Greek Freak and be part of what Milwaukee is building with that young core as well? But of course, Masai Ujiri at the end of the day, probably the most coveted job available out there. A 59-win team, and of course the whole We the North movement going on, making the Raptors very attractive. Nick Nurse obviously understands the special relationship that exists between Raptor fans and the team. It feels like he'll be a heavily looked at candidate, as he will be the candidate, of course, who knows this Raptor roster best. Nurse is a more offensive-minded coach than Casey, so if improving the Raptors' offense is high on your checklist, then take a serious look at Nurse. I bet you Jury will be. Nurse has almost 30 years coaching experience all over the globe, including being a 2-time British Basketball League champ. Now, for those of you lauding Jerry Stackhouse because he's a D-League Coach of the Year and a D-League champion, let's remind ourselves that Nurse is a D-League Coach of the Year and a 2-time D-League champion. Speaking of Stackhouse, his strong work for the Raptors organization has him on several radars as we speak. The 18-year NBA veteran comes from the Dean Smith School of Coaching and was known as a scrappy, no-quit competitor.
Well, I think it started for me as a player, really, just kind of being a mentor to the younger guys. I didn't mind sharing the little nuances of the game that I picked up. That's where the bug really first started to feel that I maybe could have, some success trying to teach the game as well. Come on, when it's not your number, you got to come out and make the right play. That was automatic. They drove it to you. This guy's wide open in the corner. Swing the ball. Let's outrun these guys to the rim. They hit it ahead. We work on that all the time. Let's make that pass and get a hit ahead.
So, win. 1, 2, 3.
Win. Got to get some stops, man. It ain't the offense, it's the stop.
A very good and highly sought-after candidate is Mike Budenholzer, who spent nearly 2 decades with Greg Popovich.
I kept it a secret for a long time because he was helping me too much, so it had to get out eventually. He's a for real coach, for real human being.
Budenholzer's resume isn't without its share of concerns for Raptors fans, of course, as he's been twice unceremoniously swept out of the playoffs by LeBron James, a scenario Raptor fans know all too well. Raptor fans and players also sure to remember the unpleasantries exchanged this season between Budenholzer and OG. If he is going to be considered for this job, surely some fences will need to be mended. Somebody, sooner rather than later too, is going to make Becky Hammon the first female NBA coach. Hammon is not only a great basketball mind, but a great story. She was rehabbing an ACL injury she suffered with the San Antonio Stars of the WNBA, and during that time was spending a lot of time at Spurs practices, games, and was invited to participate and even contribute in coaches' meetings. The rest, as they say, is history.
What a great opportunity, all right? Let's go, come on!
She talks the game, she understands the game. So in that respect, I have no doubts that she's going to be able to be one heck of a coach.
Don't get too cute out here. Stay serious, stay focused. Go, play the right way.
If Masai Ujiri has his heart set on the new Raptor coach having previous NBA head coach experience, there are options. The Van Gundy brothers, for example, are out there. Stan on the left, Jeff on the right. Oh, no, wait a minute. Sorry, there we go. There's Stan on the left, Jeff on the right. As much as I like the Van Gundy brothers, I can't imagine that either one of them are going to be serious contenders for this job, as I would certainly assume that either of them would want player personnel decision-making authority, and I certainly can't imagine Masai Ujiri is going to part with any of that. Former Magic and Pacer coach Frank Vogel is available, and while I myself am a fan of Vogel, I would have to consider him a dark horse at best. How about a Brad Stevens type scenario where Masai Ujiri expands his search to include top-tier college coaches like Jay Wright, who's built a sensational program at Villanova and of course has won multiple championships in doing so? We know that Wright is a sensational developer of young talent, #benchmob, and has a fantastic relationship with Kyle Lowry, who played for Wright at Villanova, and Lowry will tell you he matured under Wright's leadership. Are you fired up about any of the candidates mentioned here? Do you have a different name you'd like to see in the mix? Get at us. Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, all at @tight_coverage. We here at Tight Coverage would sure love if you hit that like and hit that subscribe button as well. That would be much appreciated. And certainly want to thank you for spending some of your day with us here.